What's up, everybody? You know, I, talking about this because it's kind of weird, because, well, one, of course, I don't know if many people talk about it anyway. I mean, I probably previously talked about this in some capacity before, but let me ask you guys this: have you ever gone to to several message boards that all talk about the same thing, whether it's a cartoon or a comic book or whatever, or a movie? Have you ever gone to these websites and the message boards and the forums, and you've seen all these different topics or subforums that are based on what you're talking about, and on one, and there's one message board forum that's 50-50, if you will, but then there's another that's completely biased in favoritism of another, and then there's another completely favor. You get the idea. Have you ever been to one of those? Have you ever seen one of those? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot out there, my friends. I mean, a lot out there. I'll give you a good example. Sega.com and Sonic Stadium. Two separate entities when it comes to the Sonic franchise. Sega.com has many subforums. One of them is the cartoons and comics section. Sega Stadium, on the message board, has a subforum called Archie's Sonic Comics, or Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, actually, Sega Stadium actually has a subforum called Sonic Discussion, and one of the popular and main topics sections, if you will, is Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, the reason I say this is because when you go to the cartoons and comics section over at Sega.com, and then you go to the Sonic Discussion section and Sonic Discussion section and the topic of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog at Sonic Stadium, what really gets me, folks, is the fact that at the cartoons and comics section at Sega.com, it's one of those sites that, even though you might see some fans appear there that will be 50-50, it's completely, and I hate to say this, completely biased. Now, I can understand why. You see, at the cartoons and comics section at Sega.com, the reason it's completely biased is most of those fans there, and I'm saying this with all due respect, most of those fans there are fans of the game continuity of Sonic. That's what they are. Now, I know some may argue and say, oh no, well, we're fans of the comic continuity, we're fans of the Saturday Night continuity, there's just some characters we can't stand. Or there's just some things we can't stand from the writer that's writing the comic book. Okay, that's understandable, but 75% of those fans there, or 80% of those fans there, are biased. In fact, there's a few fans that when you take a look at their avatars or the little pictures they put in their, as the signatures and all that, some of them are biased towards, Sonic being with a certain pink female. Now, again, like I said, there are some that show up there that are 50-50 that try to get people to understand, like, hey, look, it's not exactly how you think it is. Basically it's this and it's that. They tried their best to kind of explain the situation, but, like I said, it's mostly an 80% biased form. And again, I say that with all due respect because everybody has a right to their opinions. Now, when you take a look at a forum like, say, the one at Sonic Stadium, and you go to Sonic Discussion, the Sonic Discussion subforum, and then you go to the topic Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog, Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog, there it's 50-50. A majority of the fan base there is 50-50. In other words, some are biased against, some are just like what you see at Sega.com, where the others everybody basically shares equal space there. The others, are like, hey, look, this is how we feel. And nobody really says anything. There's one person that's on both forums, just like I am. And this person, recently, I just looked at one of the most recent posts because Archie Comics has posted the first 5 preview pages of the new Sonic 224 issue that's coming out. And basically, I guess they might have said this jokingly or something, I don't know. But they said, they said something along the lines. This member of both boards, but this person over at the Sega Stadium, Sonic Discussion Archie Sonic the Hedgehog board, I guess jokingly around said something about, oh, this is going to raise. This is going to cause a lot of chaos, it's going to raise some hell over at the Sega forums, better go over there and do damage control. Basically, this poster, I guess in a jokingly way, said, oh man, I could just see what's going to happen now at the Sega forums, I better go try to control things there. So, and you can understand where that fan's coming from. You see, that fan is basically saying, oh man, the fans over there are so biased at times, or 80% of them are biased at times, this is going to make it even more so. So, they go over there. So for those that are, like I said, on both forums, or on a variety of forums, they go to a place like Sega.com to try to at least, I guess you could say, educate and inform the fans there who have a right to their opinions, have a right to who they like and dislike, and let them kind of educate and inform them, look, this is not exactly as you think it is. It's not as bad as you think it is. Look between the lines, if you will. That's what they try to say. But at times, that doesn't work that way. Like I said, at times it doesn't work that way. I mean, there's a lot of sites out there that are the same way. Now I'm pretty sure there's sites on Superman. There's different sites on Batman. There's sites on Rescue Rangers. There's sites on Tailspin. There's sites on Avengers. Sites on Archie himself. I mean, imagine that. I mean, Archie Andrews himself. There could be one side that's totally biased towards him. That's totally biased of him getting together with Betty, and in favoritism of him getting with Veronica. And then there's another side that's like 50-50. And there could also be a side that's totally biased with him getting with Veronica and being with Betty. You get the idea. But then there's one side that's 50-50. Same thing with some, like, say, Rescue Rangers. There could be one side that's totally biased in some ways, like say, this character, Gadget should be with this character, should be with Chip, Dale should be with Foxglove, and then there could be another one that's doesn't even acknowledge Foxglove or Tam, all those one-shot characters that became popular, and said, oh no, Dale should be with Gadget, Chip should be on his own, just be the leader, blah blah blah. And then there's a side, of course, that would be like 50-50. Again, like I said, it all depends. Heck, when you look at wrestling, you can't even go to a message board nowadays without some people being completely biased against or for a promotion like TNA or WWE or even Ring of Honor. But then there are some sites out there that are 50-50 on. They look at the positives and the negatives. And that's exactly what you look at with forums like Sega, with message boards and forums like Sega.coms and Sonic Stadiums, especially the cartoons and comics section and the Sonic Discussion / Archie Sonic the Hedgehog section. That's the way it is, whether we like to admit it or not. I mean, when you flat out think about it, there could be worse of stuff. There could be a site that's totally 100% biased. Let me put it to you like this. There could be a site out there, a Sonic site out there, I don't know if there is one, probably is, that's dedicated solely to the game continuity. To the game continuity that, that even though it will probably put a section for like the Archie Sonic comic books, that if you try to mention, that if you mention Sonic and Sally together, you're banned, automatically, or your membership is revoked, if you will. There are sites out there that are just like that. There's no doubt about it. But again, a lot of fans need to come and realize that no matter where you go, you're always going to have a difference of opinion. There are going to be sites that are majority biased. There are going to be some that are 50-50. Doesn't matter where you go. You just got to realize people are going to have their difference of opinions on certain sites. A majority of them may be, against what they read and what's being portrayed, and some are not. But you got to realize that maybe some that are, in that majority, they probably newer, more recent fans of the franchise, the comics, and the games. And they feel that those are more level playing field and the right continuity than what they see otherwise. So, maybe that's how it is. I don't know. Honestly, folks, I don't know, but I can tell you this. I can definitely tell you this. Sooner or later, those 80% forms or 100% biased forms, in time, and it may be a long time, but in time will start slowly becoming like what you see at these 50-50 forms. And they'll start becoming 50-50. But in time, but like I said, it takes time for that to happen. It takes the right people being in charge of the forms. And speaking of forms, you can go to certain forums that are, moderated, curated, and owned by certain people that work on a franchise or on a comic. But there you got to be careful too, because if you're not careful there, something could happen. If you try to, let's say, guess something that's good, let's say well, let's talk my experience. I was on the Bubble King forum one time, and Ian had me banned because one, I guess he thought I was asking too many questions. But on the other hand, maybe it's because he felt that I was getting too close to the truth. And some others I've read and heard have experienced the same thing. That Ian has felt that they've been getting a little too close. They've been banned because they've been probably getting a little too close to the truth. In fact, one person in one of the forums said that his stories are becoming too predictable. In fact, I think they said this on one of my videos that I did. They said his stories are becoming way too predictable. It's like you can figure it out right there and then what's going to happen. So, honestly, I don't know. Again, like they said, you could probably figure out what's happening before it happens. And if you do that at his forums, at his message boards, you get banned. Or in some capacity like that. But to me, in closing, these are the differences between these forums, these Sonic forums. So, comment down below, tell me what you think about it. Do you think there's a difference? Because I see it. And I'll talk to you later.